what's up? Welcome back to Books and Boarding Passes. If you're new here, my name is Taylor, and today we're going to be chatting about Sarah J. Maas's Tower of Dawn. Super cute today. I'm really glad I'm holding that up correctly. Alright, so I know y'all are probably thinking, wow, you are super late. One, in reading this book, and two, reviewing this book after I read it. Because I did read this book during the BookTube games in February, which was 2 months ago now. I'm really excited to chat with you today about this book. It is the 6th book in the Throne of Glass series. There is a novella that I highly recommend you read before you read this book. You should have already read it. I've actually never read it. Called Assassin's Blade. There is a lot of backstory that would have made this book even cooler if I would have just bit the bullet and read it. I was not excited about reading this book. I wasn't. Excuse my nails, by the way. Tower of Dawn's timeline coincides with Empire of Storms. I don't have the book, so we can just... So these timelines are happening at the same time. It took me a little bit to realize that. It's like I knew it, but I kept on having to remind myself while I was reading this book. This book follows one of the main characters from the very beginning, Chaol. If you've watched any of my videos, you know how I feel about Chaol. So I was not excited about reading this book. I was like, this book is thick, ma'am, look. And it's all about Chaol. I don't want to read this. I just didn't. But, man, wow, oh wowie, was I wrong. If you've kind of gotten to this point in the series and you're like, I don't want to really read it, read it. If someone tries to tell you that it's okay to skip it, don't skip it. I cannot stress this enough. 1, the characters were great. 2, the plot was great. 3, the setting was great. 4, why am I doing this? 4, the theme was great. This being the 6th book in the series, it's going to be really difficult for me to actually be able to give you a synopsis of this other than this book is told kind of from, not Chaol's point of view, but it follows his storyline, which involves some other characters obviously in the book. If you've not read Throne of Glass at all, go read it. Stop this video right now. Subscribe before you go. Go read this series. It is so good. To me, it's like 3 different book series in one series. That makes literally no sense. But if you've read it, you get what I'm saying. At the time of filming, I have already read the last book in this series. So, all I can tell you is to go read it. It's really great. It follows some awesome characters. The main character is an awesome lead female and could not rave it about enough. I gave this book an A+. I know. If you don't want to be spoiled, please stop watching now. Go ahead and click off. Give me a little heart down below just to show some love. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it so far. I'm already 5 minutes in and I haven't really talked about this book. So anyways, come back after you've read it so we can chat about it. I want to talk to everybody about this book in the comments because I really thought I was going to despise this book. Which is kind of funny because my last chat that I put up for last week was on Renegades, which I also thought I was going to hate and ended up really enjoying. Leave if you don't want to be spoiled. I don't want to spoil you. Alright, bye. Go, bye. Okay, guys. 1, I'm not sure how to use my ring light, so I know that I'm like, it's too bright. I'm fully aware. I'm learning. I'm so sorry. Let's get into this book. What did I just read? I'm just going to go by the characters because in the spoilery part, I'm going to go through characters at this point because this channel is a trash can. So, Chaol, not a fan. Haven't been a fan for a long time. Very much over his attitude and his general just, ugh. So, when I'm reading that first couple chapters and he's like, I'm in my wheelchair, and I just like imagine this like wooden wheelchair that wasn't like actually like, the wheels weren't actually round. I don't know. Anyways, I was like, this is gonna suck, but I had to read it so I could read the last book. So here's poor Nesryn that's just like, I don't know why she's with Chaol. And by the way, when I don't mean anything by the fact that he, at this point, is paralyzed. I'm just purely talking about his personality. I have no idea why she's with him. I am excited that she's traveling home. So they have gone to, I almost said Alicante, Antica. So they're going to Antica where the healers are. That's also where Nesryn is from. And so that part I was like, this is going to be really boring. I love Nesryn. And excuse me if I don't pronounce anybody's character names correctly. But I also did listen to this on audiobook. I rented the audiobook from my local library but listened through Audible. And so that was a mess. So when they get there and meet with like the Coggin, I think his name is, he's pretty much like the king, but even more important because this whole like kingdom or Coggindom, if you will. Oh, losing subscribers as this video keeps going. You find out that he has all these kids and his heir is not necessarily his like firstborn child, which I thought was like really cool. So at like any given moment, he has like this one little slip of paper somewhere locked up, hidden, that says who his heir is gonna be. So technically he could wake up every morning and just like, not in the mood. I'm gonna change who this is. They quickly find out after they make a fool of themselves in front of the Coggin that his youngest daughter died, like within like a couple days of them showing up. They didn't know, they did not pay their respects. That pisses everybody off. So Chaol's there to be healed, hopefully, and then also try to gain an army for Aelin, and things aren't looking good on the first meeting because it's Chaol and dude sucks. So they do get him hooked up with a healer that ends up being Yrene from the Assassin's Blade, which I didn't read. There is that significance there that you know that she has crossed paths with Aelin, which is really cool. The problem is I didn't read Assassin's Blade, so I didn't fully understand it, but I knew that they had crossed paths. I had somebody tell me the story because I didn't want to read it, so I did think that that was going to be really cool. I really loved how Yrene was like not with Chaol's shit. Like I was about that because I'm not with Chaol's shit. And so I just loved the fact that she was like on his case and like hated him and was like, your people killed my mom. You find out that her mom was killed back in the day when like Dorian's dad killed and did away with everybody that had magic, which we'll get there. Don't worry. I'm getting there. And so she was the only survivor, and then obviously you find out through Assassin's Blade that she made her way down to become like an official healer, and she is like the like Robin to Batman of all the healers. I'm so sorry. This is a horrible review. So I loved Yrene except for the fact that she was a little soft while also being like badass, which I know some people love. I personally am more a fan of like characters like Aelin that just have a little bit more oomph to them. But nothing wrong with Yrene. She's awesome, amazing. If you've read through the entire series, you get what I'm saying. So, loved her whole thing. I loved that the healing process wasn't just like a wave of a magic wand and you're all right. Like that process was so good of them just like working all the time and her figuring out that really his like mental and emotional state was what was like allowing that pretty much, it was like a piece of Vogue was still like left in him, and that was keeping him from being able to walk. So I really liked that whole process that they had between the two of them, trying to figure out like almost like having therapy together, and working with him was therapeutic to her, and forgiving what had happened to her mom. It was a lot and it was great. But the problem is that Chaol and Yrene were not my favorite of everybody in this entire book. My favorite is when Nesryn starts hanging out with Sartaq, and I'm pretty sure that's how you say it because that's how they said it in the audiobook, I think. The minute that Sartaq shows up, I was like, the description. I just was seeing like Khal Drogo vibes. Like, to me, that matches Nesryn better. And so she could tell, I mean, first of all, it's pretty obvious that like Chaol and Nesryn actually are just like messing around for convenience, and that there's like no like deep connection there. At least for a Sarah J Maas book. Like, let's get real. Like, we're not gonna have some like casual, just like, alright relationship in these books. So when Sartak was all about her and like showing all the love, like at that party when everybody was like on opium or something, whatever was going on, and they're all like all up on each other, and then Irene and Kale are all up on each other, I was like, this is getting a little hot and heavy, and they haven't even technically broke up. And so when Sartak's like, hey, I have to go check on my, I think they're Rook Riders. I don't know if they technically have a name or not. I can't remember. And she's like, gotta bounce. And she's out of there. Loved that. I was like, this is going to be awesome. Little did I know it was going to be so much better than I expected. And so they take off and she gets to meet the Rook Riders, which he is like made his chosen family because of the fact that like his siblings are always going to be at odds with each other, trying to figure out who is the heir, because once you're heir, you pretty much try to prevent your siblings and their offspring. Well, one, you try to prevent them from even having offspring, and then two, you're always fighting with them because everybody wants to be the ruler. I do feel like the more I got to know Sartak, I was like, I really don't think he like even cares to be the heir. Like, I legit don't. And so because of that, he like leads the Rook Riders, and they ride on what's more like a big bird, like eagle thing, in comparison to like Manon and how they have wyverns. Wyverns are more like dragons. It seems like to me the Rooks are more bird-like. And so they ride all the way there. I feel like she just feels so free. You meet his like mother, which is weird, by the way. Let me cut to the fact that you never get to see the Coggins wife and all of the kids' mother. I thought that that was like super weird. I felt like that was fishy. That was the first thing that I was like, somebody is going to be Vogue, clearly. With just this story, someone's going to be Vogue. And then when the girl gets killed in the library, it was like, okay, someone's Vogue. And then all the stuff happens with Irene and stuff, and you're like, who is it? I always thought it was going to be the mom, because you just never see her. But then I was like, no, Dwight Schrute. It's always the person in the middle. It's never the person you think it most would be or least would be. It's always the person in the middle. And that's when I was like, I know who it's going to be. And man, was I right. But I'll get to that. So you also then meet Borte. Oh my God, bro. She, I want to know so much more about her and her like betrothed, because she is such a badass, and it seems like her relationship with her betrothed, I can't remember what his name was, I'm so sorry, would have been so good. I want to know more. I want to be her. I do. Like, legit. I feel like her and Lysandra would be like so good together. Not like in a romantic sense. Well, yeah, they would be good together in a romantic sense, but I feel like they both are into somebody else, so I don't think that that would work out too well. But so you get to just see the setting and imagine like them in like the hillside and the mountains and these caves. Oh my God. I wanted to see a movie just of the Rook Riders. So while they're there, obviously, they go in search of the spiders. I can't think of what their names are. Anyways, they go in search of them and very quickly find out that there is a healer history and something wonky is going on, and they then find out about Maeve. So while all of this is going on, Kale and Irene are still back at the place, and they're like, hey, Nesrin, you need to get back. Hey, Sartak, you need to get back. While they're trying to figure out and find out while being like almost slaughtered, which what a scene that was with all the booby traps and stuff. Loved it. Then they get caught by the spider. Why can't I think of what those spiders are named? I can't think of what it is. Anyways, and so you go this whole time watching them fight this spider, and they're about to die, and then Nesrin like pulls all this cool stuff, and then at the very end, Sartak's like, even when I only heard stories about you, that's when I fell in love with you. And I'm like, okay, listen. Sarah J Maas either makes people fall in love instantly, or it's a slow burn. No in between. Like, there's no middle ground with her. It's either like almost inappropriately quick, or it's like by the end of it, it's like, I don't even want them to be together anymore. It's taken so long. Anyways, so they ride back. Everybody puts the two and two together that Maeve is a freaking Vogue queen. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Everything made sense. The only thing that I felt was forced, kind of, was that, like, she somehow convinced these two Fae sisters, and, like, the entirety of the living Fae at that point, that she was their older sister. I felt like that was just, like, a shortcut. Don't hate me. Just a feeling. I just felt like that was, like, a little far-fetched. I love saying something's, like, unrealistic or far-fetched when I'm talking about, like, shapeshifters and fairies. Y'all get what I'm saying, though. That's all that matters. So when they get back, of course, Chaol then, I think, can walk at that point after that great, like, argument scene with him and Irene when she's just like, you are a do-nothing bitch. And he's like, you are too. And they get in that fight, and then she's like, get up and say it to my face. And he's like, all right, I will. And then he gets up out of the wheelchair, and you're like, oh, dear. That and when he wiggled his toes was like the 2 points that I was like, oh, I actually think I might care about Chaol's well-being. He's not going to ever be my favorite. He's always going to be my least favorite. But, like, it just meant so much more, because it was like, if it meant that he was dealing with his emotions and his mental state. And then when he had, like, the dream thing about Aelin and her and Rowan are just, like, straight chilling. And, like, he, I think, then realizes, like, she couldn't help it. Because then he realizes he feels that way about Irene, and he's in the same situation with Irene and Nesryn, and it was like, Chaol, you shouldn't have been shady. You shouldn't have been so judgmental, because now look what the kind of situation you're in. You're, like, dragging Nesryn along, and, like, puts Irene in a weird position, so then it puts Nesryn in a weird position, because she is not messing with Chaol anymore. She's all here for Sartaq, and why would you not be? You know, right? This video makes no sense. Anyways, so when they get back, I did not catch on to the fact that the pregnant sister, can't remember what her name is, was the only one that didn't go to that party. The one, like, way out in the desert when they get into it with, like, the bitch sister, and then they, like, push her into the pool and all that because she's making fun of Irene and Chaol and all this different kind of stuff. I did not catch on to that, but I think it's because I already suspected her, so I just, like, didn't see the significance of that, like, that little crumb that you could have picked up. So I wasn't catching on to that. I didn't care anything about the other brother that liked Irene. I was like, who cares? The girl ain't about you. Move along. We don't have the time. I did think maybe at one point he was going to be bad, but I did ask a friend, and they were like, no, don't worry about him. Once I knew that everybody's back, everything's all good to go, they show up, like, as Chaol and Irene are battling it out with this pregnant sister, that I'm just like, oh my gosh, is this going to be, like, a Vogue baby? But I forgot she's just, like, a normal person. Because y'all remember when they were, like, trying to impregnate the witches and stuff? So is it they were only allowed to do that or able to do that because they were witches? I don't know. I was worried about that. I was, like, legit, like, this is going to be a Vogue baby and we're going to have to kill this baby. It's going to be awful. So then, like an idiot, Irene then, like, makes a deal with, like, the ghost of every single healer that has ever died and the one still living or something. They all, like, linked up, like, linked their magic together all, like, badass style. And pretty much was like, Chaol just got hurt trying to save me, and undid every single ounce of progress that they had made. I almost lit this book on fire. Like, legit. I was so over it. And then she's like, there'll be a price. And I was like, sure. If you've read one YA or one fantasy book, you know that never works out. Like, legit never. So she was like, well, I'm going to link y'all together, which, by the way, aren't Rhys and Feyre from A Court of Thorns and Roses? Hope you haven't read that. I'm just gonna, you know, anyways, you get what I'm saying. You get what I'm saying. There's always these, like, little parallels, and then it's like, okay, well, he can walk with your magic, but then when your magic gets depleted, which I love that Sarah doesn't make it where like magic just happens and it doesn't get depleted. You have to learn it. I love that because I hate books that it's like you have magic and you automatically know how to use it and it like is unlimited. That doesn't jive well with me. So of course she makes pretty much a deal that makes it where he can only walk when like her magic is almost bracing his foot. Kind of like what Lorcan does with Elite, it made it seem like to me, except just different. It's like healing powers. They also figure out that the healers are the only way to like separate a Vogue from the host. And so that's what they do with, is her name Delia? Delia? That's probably super wrong. So they figure out how to do that, and the king, the Coggin, is like, just save my daughter and her baby if you can, please. So Yrene like completely depletes herself trying to save this sister that really is sweet. She's just trying to get this Vogue out of her, and he's like, I will do anything. I will owe you favors, whatever, just like save her. So of course Chaol is like having to sit in his chair because she's using all of her magic to separate this Vogue from the sister, and she finally does. And while she's sitting there, I just imagine her, you know the scene in Twilight where like Bella's like on the couch and everybody surrounded her? That's what I imagined the scene kind of as. And so Irene's like laid up like, dying from using all of her magic, and she's like, I do have one favor. So then the next thing that you see is Sartaq goes to Nesrin's family's house, like a boy in high school, but like a real confident boy in high school, and like they're all like teasing Nesrin like, we heard through the grapevine that you've got a boyfriend and he is one of the heirs to the throne, da 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 da. And she's like, it's not that big of a deal. And then Sartaq shows up and he's like, what up, I'm here to get Nesrin, she's the love of my life. And you're like, okay. And then he's like, I pretty much told my dad to suck it, and he was like, you passed the test, you're the heir. So he's like, so you're gonna be my queen, if that's how cogginess, whatever. I just was like, I don't know, that happened so quick. I wanted there to be like a little bit more romance between them, like a little bit more vibes, romantically speaking. I felt like they were like real good friends. But anyway, so you find out Nesrin's pretty much gonna rule with Sartaq, I guess. They end the book with then, of course, Sartaq's gonna take his rooks and they're gonna fly to Aelin to help out in this war. And I love it so much. Irene's favor that she asked was to bring the healers with them to try to separate any innocent lives from these Vogue. Oh, she is such a badass. So on the boat, bro, and hold, let me get close. On the boat, when she finally shows Chaol the letter that's been in her pocket and he realizes it's from Aelin, literal tears. Literal tears. I couldn't handle it. I couldn't handle it. I was like, this whole theme of like, everything happens for a reason, everything's connected. To me, especially with Chaol, it was like, him and Aelin and then Yrene, and then Nesrin came back home and met Sartaq, and then totally forgot about Lysandra's uncle, Wild, that was also from Assassin's Blade supposedly. Grade A stuff, guys. So then you can't wait and you're like, okay, they've got like the best army that they could somehow pull together. Just get to Aelin as quickly as possible. Then you remember at the very end that she has been taken by the queen, by Maeve, and they have no idea that she's Vogue. So now you're just like, let's just hope and pray everything's gonna be alright. But I've already read Kingdom of Ash, so I already kind of know what happens. Not kind of, I do, I already read it. But anyways, this was so good, guys. I cannot rave about it enough. I'm sorry this was probably so long. I'm trying to kind of break these down so they're not so long and make them shorter. But anyways, that is it for today. Leave a comment down below and let me know who your favorite like new character was that got brought in Tower of Dawn, because I think that there were so many great characters that were introduced in this. And so let me know down below. Mine was Sartaq. Mine was Borte, actually. So let me know down below. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Give it a thumbs down if you didn't like it. Do what you dig, you know? Express yourself. Also, subscribe down below. I really hope I'm pointing in the right direction. I would greatly appreciate it. I upload weekly for the most part. Anyways, that is it today. You could also find my Instagram, my Twitter, my Goodreads, and some other fun stuff down in the description so you can kind of keep up with me, interact with me on other social media platforms. But that's it. That's all I got for you. Wild times, guys. This was pretty good. This ended up being so good. That's all I got for today. And y'all know what to do. Do what you do. Bye, guys.